All right, what's up, Tycoon? Super excited for today's video. We're going to be taking a look at three stocks today, okay? We're going to look at Roku, we're going to look at Snapchat, and we're going to look at Fubo. All right, those are three stocks that, in my opinion, are all related to each other, okay? And they trade very similarly, all right? The reason being for this is they are advertisement plays, or what's called advertisement plays. They get a lot of their money, okay, from the advertising revenue, all right? That's how they make a lot of their money. So let's go ahead and dive right into the chart for Roku. All right, so now Roku, if you've been watching my videos, we have this purple bearish channel that Roku has just been respecting ever since making all-time highs, okay? It's just fallen perfectly every time along these trend lines and bounced and recovered, all right? Now, we recently just had earnings and gap down major, okay? If we look on the daily chart here, there is a space between this candlestick and this candlestick. That's what's known as a gap, and these tend to fill about 90 to 95% of the time historically. In the stock market, it's just a matter of when, right? A lot of people lose money trying to time the market. We can't always time everything perfectly, but what we can do is prepare and anticipate for things. All right. So looking again, let's go ahead and zoom in on the 1 hour chart so you can see a little bit clearer. What happens is when we get to the top of this purple bearish channel, okay, we start to fall. And when we get to the bottom of it, we start to recover. All right. So I mean, just down huge. Okay, Roku down huge. Let's look at it from yesterday's open to today's lows. It fell 36%. So I mean, just insane drops. I mean, Roku's at like $100 now. It was just 175. Last week, just wild stuff going on. So when things move in such dramatic fashions, right, they tend to recover or pull back in the same way, right? So it's going to be real interesting to see if Roku can fill this 1 hour gap here soon. If not, then I would look for it to break this purple downtrend, right? Roku can go ahead and hover, and we can kind of hover and continue to gradually go lower, right? There's always that possibility, but I'm thinking that Roku, there is a chance, right, that Roku recovers here and we bounce off the trend line, and we could fill this gap over the next month or week, right? That would be kind of what I'm looking for. I wouldn't look to short Roku anymore. It's been bleeding and bleeding. And, if you haven't already been in put contracts and shorting Roku, I wouldn't look necessarily to get back into those right now, as we are testing the bottom of this bearish channel. And it's been well respected over the last like even the past like half a year. Like, boom, we hit the bottom, we come up, recover, 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 hit the bottom, and again we are hitting the bottom. So patterns tend to repeat themselves, but they don't have to. Okay. There's no law saying that the stock market and Roku has to repeat this pattern, but this is a very interesting pattern for you all to pay attention to. All right. The next one we're going to look at is going to be Fubo. Okay. Now, Fubo, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a different perspective. All right. Now, we have some daily gaps up here on Fubo to 39 and to 30 as well. You guys know I love playing the gaps and having the gaps charted up. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and go to the weekly chart. All right. If we look here on the weekly chart, the reason I have this green box, pulled up is because that's our weekly demand zone. All right. I have a supply demand tutorial in the top right hand corner of this video. Really change your strategy and your trading, tremendously, right? I know it really did for me. So watch that video if you guys want a little bit of a tutorial on how to trade supply and demand. But yeah, so this is our demand zone on the weekly chart that we have not tested, okay, since pre-COVID levels, right? Since 2019 levels. We haven't really tested these levels. So we're currently testing those levels now. Okay, we had our euphoria cycle, and dysphoria brought us back down into these levels, and it's going to be really interesting to see on a smaller time frame, what do we do? Do we find support here around all-time lows for Fubo? And if not, then it's going to, who knows where the stock is going to go. It can only drop down to zero, and it's at $8 right now. So, it can only fall $8 more before, possibly recovering. But you have to ask yourself, if you're a long-term investor in Fubo, what are they going to be doing 5 years from now, right? Do you see their business model growing? Do you see the company growing and expanding more, generating more profit, right? Or perhaps, is Fubo going to die off, right? That's always a risk that you need to be aware of. But when it comes to some long-term price levels, these are some really great swing trades. If you can hold these and you're patient with some shares, if we look from here up to the first daily gap fill, that's over 275% on the chart. So those are some really great returns if you're patient on Fubo and you can withstand a little bit of pain for 1, 2, 3 years, however long it takes for it to recover and fill these gaps, right? The next one we're going to look at is Snapchat. Okay, Snapchat has a little bit of some bullish divergence going on. If we look here, the trend line is going down clearly. Okay, you have a low here, we have a low here, and then a lower low here, like lower high, right? And then here we are actually going up slightly on the RSI, and also right here on the RSI we're going up. We have a low here, then a higher low here, and if we connect the lows from this point, we have a low here and a lower low here. Those are two signs of what's known as bullish divergence. I got a bullish divergence, just a whole divergence tutorial in general in the top right hand corner. Go ahead and watch that if you need a little bit of help with divergence. But the main thing we're looking at is, to me, is this trend line and the gaps, right? This trend line right here is our resistance. It's pushing us back down towards this daily gap down we have to fill between 33 and 26, right? Which is a pretty juicy gap. So, until we break that trend line right there and start trading above that trend line and flip it to support, we're going to most likely come down and fill this daily gap down, right? And if we, recover, right, and Snapchat wants to go bullish again, as a very, very big daily gap up, from, what is this, 72, $75 all the way down to 61. So, like a $10, $15 gap above on Snapchat that, you're going to have to be patient for, because eventually if Snapchat, is a good, company and they're still successful and profitable, right, in the near future, in the next 5 years, this fear cycle will end in the stock market and it will recover and come back up to these levels. All right. So those are 3 stocks that I'm watching right now. I think you guys should pay attention to as well. If you have any stock requests that you want me to analyze for you, let me know down in the comment section below. I do viewer requests frequently, all the time, every week. And if you want to trade with us and join the Options Trading Tycoons Discord, the link to join will be in the description below. All right. If you look today, I posted a trade today at 10:30. And in less than an hour I got 86%. Now I could have sold at 100%, but I put a trailing stop loss on, the trailing stop loss was for 25%. These puts ran up a little bit more and then they pulled back and I was stopped out at 86%, but still amazing trade for the day, especially when it's less than 1 hour and you can get nearly 100%. Very good stuff, right? So you're going to want to pay attention to these. If you guys can see here, Palantir, I had some contracts on Palantir, sold those for profit, 43%. The link to join the Discord's in the description below. Use code Zachly, like ZachlyTrades, the channel name ZachlyTrades. It'll get you a discount on the membership, all right?